Hi, and welcome to part 3 of our series on how to play craps and how to win. In part 1, we discussed pass and don't pass, plus the free odds bets. In part 2, you learned about common place bets, and now in part 3, we'll talk about all of the bets in the center of the table. Plus, I'll tell you how to win at the game of craps. So let's take a look at some of the long shots or proposition bets in the center of the table. When you look at these bets, one of the first things you'll notice is that unlike the bets on the other side of the table, the winning payoffs are clearly labeled. The reason they do that is so you can see those big payoffs and want to bet them. But as you'll see, although the payoffs are high, so are the casino advantages. All of the proposition bets are controlled by the stickman, and they are the person who must make those bets for you. So if you wanted to make a $1 bet on any craps, you would throw a $1 chip to the center of the table and say, $1 any craps. And the stickman would then place that bet in the proper area for you. Then if you won, the stickman would tell the dealer at your end of the table to pay you. You should also be aware that they will only pay you your winnings and keep your original bet in place. If you don't want to make the same bet again, you should tell the stickman that you want your bet down and it will be returned to you. There are only 4 proposition bets that are not one-roll bets, and they are known as the hardways. They are the hard 4, hard 6, hard 8, and hard 10. To roll the number the hard way means that the number must be rolled as doubles. For example, 3 and 3 is a hard 6, but a roll of 4 and 2 or 5 and 1 are both called an easy 6 because they are easier to roll than double 3s. To win a bet on hard 10, the shooter has to roll 2 5s before rolling a 7 or an easy 10 such as 6 and 4 or 4 and 6. To win a bet on hard 4, the shooter has to roll 2 2s before rolling a 7 or an easy 4 such as 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. The true odds of rolling a hard 4 or hard 10 are 8 to 1, but the casino will only pay you 7 to 1 or 8 for 1, which works out to a casino advantage of 11.1% on both of these bets. It should be noted that some casinos will show their odds as 4-1 rather than 2-1, and there is a difference between those two terms. If the odds are 2-1, that means that the original bet is returned, but if the odds are expressed as 4-1, then the original bet is kept. So looking back at the hard 4 and 10, the winning payoff of 7 to 1 or 8 for 1 would actually be the same thing. To win a bet on hard 6, the shooter must roll 2 3s before rolling a 7 or an easy 6 such as 5 and 1 or 4 and 2. To win a bet on hard 8, the shooter must roll 2 4s before rolling a 7 or an easy 8 such as 6 and 2 or 5 and 3. The true odds of rolling a hard 6 or hard 8 are 10 to 1, but the casino will only pay you 9 to 1 or 10 for 1, which works out to a casino advantage of 9.1% on both of these bets. As noted before, all the other proposition bets are one-roll bets, which means that the next roll of the dice will decide whether you win or lose. As you'll see, the house edge on all of these bets is very high, and they should all be avoided. For the any craps bet, you will win if a 2, 3, or 12 is thrown on the next roll and lose if any other number comes up. The true odds are 8 to 1, but the casino will only pay you at 7 to 1, which gives them an edge of 11.1% on this bet. You'll notice that the stickman will put your bet on a circle marked C, which stands for craps, and it's put in the circle that corresponds to where you're standing at the table, and that makes it easier for the stickman to know who that bet belongs to. For a craps 2 bet, which is also known as snake eyes, you win if the next roll is a 2 and lose if any other number shows up. The true odds are 35 to 1, but the casino will only pay you 30 to 1 or 31 for 1, which means that the edge on this bet is 13.9%. A craps 12 bet, which is also known as boxcars, works the same as a craps 2 bet, except that now you will only win if a 12 is thrown. Again, the true odds are 35 to 1, but you will only be paid at 30 to 1 or 31 for 1, which means the casino edge on this bet is the same 13.9% as in the last craps 2 bet. For a craps 3 bet, you will only win if the next throw is a 3. The true odds are 17 to 1, but the casino will only pay you 15 to 1 or 16 for 1, which results in a casino advantage of 11.1%. The 11 bet is similar to the craps 3 bet, except that now the only number you can win on is 11. The true odds of rolling an 11 are 17 to 1, but the casino will only pay you 15 to 1, or 16 for 1, which gives them an 11.1% advantage, just like on the craps 3 bet. By the way, because 11 sounds so much like 7, you will always hear 11 referred to at the table as yo or yo-11, to eliminate any confusion as to what number you are referring to. So if you wanted to bet $1 on 11, you would throw a $1 chip to the stick man and say $1 yo, and then he will either place it in the 11 box or place it on top of the E circle that corresponds to where you're standing at the table. With a horn bet, you are betting on the 2, 3, 11, and 12 all at once. A horn bet has to be made in multiples of $4 because you're making 4 bets at one time, and you'll win if any one of those 4 numbers shows up on the next roll. You'll be paid off at the odds for the number that came in, and you'll lose the rest of your chips. For example, if you make an $8 horn bet, this is the same as betting $2 on the 2, $2 on the 3, $2 on the 11, and $2 on the 12. If the number 2 came in, you would get paid off at 30 to 1, so you would get back $60 in winnings, and the casino would keep the $6 that you lost for the 3 $2 bets on the 3, 11, and 12. The only advantage of a horn bet is that it allows you to make 4 bad bets at once rather than 1 at a time. The last proposition bet we have to look at is also the worst bet on the craps table, and it's the any 7 bet. With this bet, you win if a 7 is rolled and lose if any other number comes up. The true odds are 5 to 1, but the casino will only pay you at 4 to 1 or 5 for 1, which gives them an edge of 16.7%. So, there you have it. We've gone over all the possible bets you can make, and now it's time to tell you how to win at the game of craps. Unfortunately, as you've seen, craps is a negative expectation game, which means that every bet you make has a built-in advantage for the house. Actually, there is one bet that the casino has no advantage on, and do you remember the name of that one? That's right, it's the free odds bet. And it's great that the casino has no advantage on that bet, but the only way you're allowed to make that bet is to first make a negative expectation bet on pass, or come, don't come. So in essence, there are no bets you can make where you have an advantage over the house, and in the long run, the game of craps is unbeatable. So if that's the case, then how do you win? Well, in reality, there is only one way to win in craps, and that way is to get lucky. Of course, this is easier said than done, but you will find it much easier to come out a winner if you only stick to the bets that offer the casino its lowest edge, and those are the only bets you should ever make. If you want to bet with the shooter, I suggest you make a minimum pass line bet and back it up with the maximum free odds. Then make a maximum of 2 come bets that are also both backed up with free odds. For example, if double odds are allowed, you could start with a $5 pass line bet and say a 4 is rolled. You would then put $10 behind the line on your 4 and make a $5 come bet. If the shooter then rolled an 8, you would take $10 in odds on your come bet on the 8 and make another $5 come bet. If the shooter then rolled a 5, you would take $10 in odds on your come bet on the 5 and then stop betting. The idea here is that you always want to have a maximum of 3 numbers working, and once you do, you shouldn't make any more bets until one of your come numbers hits, in which case you would make another come bet, or if your pass line bet wins, you would then follow that up with another pass line bet. The important thing to remember is not to make more than 2 come bets because you don't want to have too much out on the table if the shooter rolls a 7. By using this betting system, you'll only be giving the casino an edge of around 0.6% on all of your bets, and with just a little bit of luck, you can easily walk away a winner. Of course, if the table is cold and the shooters are losing, you could always change your strategy by betting against the shooter rather than with them. And the strategy for that is basically just the opposite. To bet against the shooter in our same scenario with a maximum of 2 times odds, you would start with a $5 don't pass bet, which you would back up with double odds, and then bet a maximum of 2 don't come bets that are also backed up with double odds. Keep in mind that you should always put out as much free odds as you can afford because the casino has no advantage on this bet. However, since you have to lay the odds, which means you're putting up more money than you'll be getting back, it could get very expensive if a shooter got on a hot roll and made quite a few passes. As an example of this system, let's say you start with a $5 don't pass bet and a 4 is rolled. You would then lay the odds by putting $20 next to your $5 don't pass bet and then make a $5 don't come bet. If the shooter then rolled an 8, you would lay $12 in odds on your don't come bet and then make another $5 don't come bet. If the shooter then rolled a 5, you would lay $15 in odds on your don't come and then stop betting. The idea here is that you always want to have a maximum of 3 numbers working, and once you do, you shouldn't make any more bets until one of your don't come numbers wins, in which case you would make another don't come bet, or if your don't pass bet wins, and then you would follow that up with another don't pass bet. Once again, the important thing to remember is not to make more than 2 don't come bets because you don't want to have too much out on the table if the shooter gets hot and starts to roll a lot of numbers. With this system, you'll always have a maximum of 3 numbers in action, and you'll only be giving the casino an edge of around 0.6% on all of your bets. Now, one last point I want to make about betting craps is that the bankroll you'll need is going to be much bigger than the bankroll you'll need for playing most other casino games. If you're betting with the shooter, you'll have one $5 pass line bet with double odds and 2 come bets with double odds, which means that you could have as much as $45 on the table that could be wiped out with the roll of a 7. If you're betting against the shooter, you'll have $5 in don't pass with double odds and 2 don't come bets with double odds, which means you could have as much as $70 on the table that could be wiped out if the shooter got on a hot roll and made a lot of numbers. As I said before, you need to have an adequate bankroll to be able to ride out the losing streaks that can happen, and you need to be able to hold on until things turn around and you start to win. So, how much of a bankroll is enough? Well, I would say about 7 times the maximum amount of money you'll have out on the table is adequate, and 10 times would be even better. In both of our examples, then, you should have a bankroll of at least $300. If you don't have that much money to put out on the table, then you might want to consider having less money out on the table by making only 1 come or don't come bet rather than 2, or maybe even just limiting your bets to pass and don't pass along with the free odds. Just remember that it doesn't matter whether you want to bet with the shooter or against the shooter. Both of these systems will give you the best chance of winning because they allow the casino only the slightest edge, and with a little bit of luck you can easily come out a winner. Thanks for watching, and best wishes for good luck on your next visit to the casino.